never forget the beer when doing table talk. Like, literally, you just cannot forget about the beer. I'm actually going to put my phone on vibrate because my girlfriend's probably going to call me, and then I'm going to have to stop this because she's going to be getting off work in a few minutes, and she told me to pull something out for dinner, and what she told me to pull out is not in the freezer, so she's probably not going to be happy with me about that, but love you, hon. But anyhow, in this episode, I'm going to kind of wrap up our spring turkey season, the first 2 weeks, and then kind of touch in on the late season, because I'm not going to do the late season just yet because our late season is not going to be over with until the end of May here. So anyhow, let's go ahead, crack a beer, and let's get on into this. Let's go. That's such a beautiful animal. Alright, so day number one did not go as planned. Actually backing up, the night before opener, so it would have been a Friday night because our season had opened on a Saturday, and tried to roost the birds Friday night. We didn't find the birds. We couldn't figure out where they were. So I said, screw it. We left there about 8 o'clock or so, and then we just started driving around, came back, went to a party. Someone got a little bit too drunk that night, and yeah, so I told my dad, instead of being at my place at 5:36 in the morning, we were going to be here at 7 o'clock, give me plenty enough time to get out there and do a little bit of calling before they came off the roost. That was the plan. Did that happen? No, that did not happen. We literally got a couple blocks outside of town or whatever, because there had been a group of birds that had been hanging out by the airport, and the airport's, I don't know, a couple blocks just down the road. And sure enough, those birds were off the roost. So it's like, okay, and it's like, I don't know, 6:45 because my dad actually ended up showing up early. And so I'm like, oh, that's not good. I'm like, well, whatever. Hopefully these birds that we're going to be hunting are going to be still in the roost. Kept going, got outside of town a couple miles, 5 miles or so. Another group of birds standing on the side of the road, already off the roost. I'm like, great. Not good. So we get there, and, mind you, it's probably like 7:15 now or so, give or take. Somewhere around there, was between 7 and 7:15 by the time we actually got there. And there's about 10-15 birds standing on the field. So I was like, great. So I just tried to get around the birds and cut them off, but they had gotten off the field. And this is that spot where I shot my Jake. And we got around, set up. I could hear the birds, a couple hundred yards away. I heard a couple gobbles. My dad disappeared because he had to use the bathroom. And we just sat there, nothing, called here and there, nothing. And then we finally decided to pack it up and go to another spot, check a couple other spots, and nothing. And then he ended up coming back around later that afternoon. We went out that afternoon, same spot, super windy, as you guys could see in the footage. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. I think that wind was coming right out of the north. We were like 20, 30 mile an hour gusts. It was miserable. As you guys had seen in the footage, we kind of like bounced around in different spots in the field. We started on the one side because I was anticipating the birds to come in from one way, and they would get over the crest of the hill. They would see the decoys, win-win situation, and I'm like, okay, no, let's move over here because if the bird's coming this way, they're going to be like walking right towards us, and I kind of don't want that. So let's adjust, move over here to the other side, put the decoys out in front. Same thing, they would come over the hill, see the decoys, but we wouldn't be in line with them. We would be kind of like off to their right side as they would have been walking towards the decoys. And when we moved the second time, the wind was just coming straight across the field right in our face, and that was miserable. And then we sat there for, I don't know, about an hour or so, said, screw it. We're going to go sit on the other side of the field with the wind at our back. We sat there the rest of the night. No birds at all. Didn't hear them, didn't see them, nothing. So I think we ended up packing it up slightly on the early side because my dad lives about an hour away, and he said he wanted to get home in a decent time because he had to work the next morning, or something along that line. I can't remember if he had to work or he just wanted to get to bed early in case that's what it was. Is he wanted to leave early so he could get to bed in case we decided to hunt Sunday morning. So we didn't hunt Sunday morning. We went out in the afternoon, and gosh, I can't think, where did we hunt that day? We hunted brooders. That's right. We hunted the primary because Dylan had gotten a hold of me that afternoon. He's like, hey, there's a lone tom out in the field. You might want to go get permission from brooder and see if you can't hunt that. So I called the owner, and he's like, yeah, go for it. You just have to, there was someone else hunting it. He goes, just give him your space. I know the guy that hunts it too. Haven't seen him there in years. So we get there, we're driving along the edge of the field and the edge of the woods, and he's doing a select cut in the property. So he's got log piles all over the place. And we get up to the very last one back by the pond. And sure enough, there's that bird standing right there by the log pile. I'm like, bird, there's a bird right there. And my dad hit his brakes. It's like, no, just keep going. We'll just go up the field. We'll sit on the edge of the field underneath the pine tree by the sand pit. And we'll put the decoy out in the field, and maybe, he'll come back out in the field, and you'll see the decoy come in, being the fact that he's by himself. Did a little bit of calling, couldn't get him to come out, and then we're like, okay, we sat there for about 45 minutes, give or take. Grabbed the decoy, we walked up to where he was, because I was going to try and go around and get in front of him, and he wasn't there. So I don't think I called. But next thing you know, when we had moved and got over by where he was, he had gobbled off in the swamp. So I'm like, okay, we'll sit here. I'll start calling. Maybe I can bring him back this way. We sat there for 45 minutes. Nothing. I'm like, okay. And my dad, he wanted to go up on the field and see if the bird was on the field. So I'm like, okay, whatever. We got nothing to lose. We'll try anything. So we walk up to the field, and we're standing there. I call. I use the box call this time. And I start calling. Next thing you know, he gobbles off in front of us, back the way we came in. So I'm like, okay. And I had left the decoy at the second spot where we set up. And we go sneaking through the woods by his first log pile, and I'm like, okay, well, we could probably just sit here the rest of the night. I have a feeling he might come back this way. If he's over there on public, he might come back over this way. We'll see. So we're sitting there, nothing. Called a little bit, nothing. And then I said, well, screw it. Since everything's pretty quiet right now, I'll run over and get the decoy. So I start walking towards the decoy. Next thing you know, the bird gobbles over by the decoy. So we literally chased this tom around like 4 different times, set up on him 4 different times, and he just kept moving on us. He kept giving us a slip, and it was frustrating. It's like this bird can't make up his mind what he wants to do. So at this point, I got a little bit irritated with the tom. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm not playing his games anymore. I'm not chasing him around. We're going to sit the field edge the rest of the night. We'll tuck up underneath the pines, and we'll just sit there the rest of the night. And we were sitting there, and I was calling, I don't know, about every half an hour or so. And I'm still upset about this to this moment. We were sitting there, and guess what me and my dad were doing? we were on our phones. And that Tom decided to come in from behind us at about 20, 30 yards, and he busted us, and then walked away, never to be seen again that night. And then about half an hour after that, here comes a lone hen across the field. So that was that was pretty exciting to have that happen. I was a little bit, bummed that we were not paying attention. We were on our phones. It was like, we shouldn't have been. You're in the woods. You shouldn't be on your phones to begin with. But I have a problem of being on my phone. It's just one of those things. You want to pass the time as fast as possible, but when you want to pass the time as fast as possible, stuff like that's going to happen. So we ended up hacking it up early that night. Same thing, so when my dad could go home and go to bed early. So girlfriend's calling me. I'm going to pause this off here real quick, and we are going to come right back. Okay, back. Sorry about that. Trying to remember where. I'm going back over my Darton since it's finally broke the ice. I can't remember where I was at. I know I was talking about the phones, try not to be on them, which is, it'd be better like if I was just leave your phone like in the truck, but at the same time, it's always in the back of my mind, like, what if I was to fall? What if? There's always those what if questions. What if you get turned around in the woods trying to track a deer? You're going into your spot. I wrestle with one of those, but I still take it with me at the end of the day, and sometimes I really wish I could leave that damn thing in the truck. So after Sunday, the weather kind of got bad. Monday and Tuesday, I think it was like really rainy and really, really, really windy. So I was like, well, I'm not even going to bother. Like, the winds were real high. It's literally been so windy here this whole spring. It's been ridiculous. I'm kind of actually sick of it right now. And cold too. It really hasn't warmed up much. We've only had maybe a couple days where it got up into the 60s. But anyhow, so Monday and Tuesday didn't go because obviously winds, weather, they weren't just really conducive to make me want to go out in the woods. So Wednesday came around, and I was kind of like, do I go to the woods tonight? Do I not? While I was at work, and I'm like, well, I can get out at a decent time. Screw it. So I got out at a decent time, got home, got dressed, flew out the door. I was literally like here for 10 minutes, and I was back out the door and gone. And in my rush to leave the house, I had forgotten the camcorder. And I was a little bit upset about that. And I didn't realize that I had forgotten it until I got like 5 miles outside of town. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not going to go back and get it at this point in time. If I was a little bit closer, if I was like a mile or two out, I would have turned around and gotten it. But I said, screw it. I'm already out of town. There's no need to turn around and go back and get it. And I didn't even know that I had my GoPro with me. I thought I had left that at home as well. So I get out there, jump out of the truck, and I go back to that spot where me and my dad were turkey hunting opening day and the day after. Because that was like the best spot that I had, or it was the best spot that I had at the time. So I get there, jump out, grab all my stuff, grab the call, start calling. No response, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll just sit the field edge tonight. It's a beautiful night. Just sit the edge and see what happens. So I get bebopping in there, nice stroll, like a 5-yard walk basically to the spot, because like literally the road was like 80 yards away. The main road was like 80 yards away, and I could literally see it from where I was sitting that night. So I get out to the field, and I'm scanning across the field, and I thought it was a stump across the field that I was looking at. Come to find out, it moved. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me, a freaking turkey. And then another head pops up. Another turkey. So I'm like, okay, this is great. I forget the camcorder. I forgot my can of chew at home, so I really wasn't in the mood. Walking in on turkeys, too, it's like, well, screw it. I should just pack it up and go home. And that was literally in the back of my mind. Like, dude, you you forgot all the important stuff. You should just turn around and pack it up and go home. And so I just stood there watching the birds walk off. And by the time they walked off, I kind of like, okay, well, it was a 20-minute drive to get here. I'm going to hunt. It's a beautiful night to be in the woods. Just because you forgot stuff doesn't mean you should pack it up and go home. You never know what's going to happen. So sit in the same tree or underneath the same pine tree that me and my dad sat under for the final sit at that spot. And I'm fiddling around with the GoPro. I broke some branches, stuck them in the ground in front of me to kind of cover me. And I'm fiddling around with the GoPro, taking pictures, making sure the camera angle's good, adjusting the way I was sitting. And I ended up having to kneel because it was the only way to make it comfortable because I couldn't draw my bow any other way. And I'm sitting there and downloading the photos on my phone, on the GoPro app, and I'm going through them, kind of deciding which ones I want to post to Instagram, kind of trying to be that guy. So I'm sitting there and playing on my phone, not just have a discussion about leaving the phone in the truck. And next thing you know, I heard something, and I glanced off to my right. That's where I heard it from. And there's a bird at full strut walking to the decoy. And I had never called since I had gotten there. I never called as soon as I sat down. I never called besides when I first got there and jumped on the truck and called. That was the only time I had called. And I was just going to sit there in silence for the rest of the night, just put the decoy out, because I had a feeling they might just come back to the field even though I had pushed them off. So yeah, he just continues to work his way to the decoy, full strut, spitting and drumming the whole way to the decoy. And I'm like, he is going to get shot. He was a Jake. I had seen that. And I initially thought, like, it's a Jake. I've already shot a Jake. I'd shot a Jake 2 years ago. I kind of want something bigger. But then I got to thinking, I'm like, the way this whole hunt happened, the way everything just unfolded, him spitting and drumming the whole way in, strutting the entire time, walking in on birds, just forgetting the camcorder, like I said, just the way everything happened. I'm like, this is a memorable hunt right here, right now, the way everything is just happening. So I shot him. Only for the fact of the way the hunt unfolded. I didn't care that he was a Jake. I wouldn't have cared even if he was a Tom. But just the way that whole hunt happened made it a trophy. And not to get on a rabbit trail here, but that's what we really need to see from people instead of bashing people for the animals they harvest, for this or for that. Be happy with what you take. If it's a trophy in your eyes, it's a trophy. I never would have thought that those birds would have came back to that field. I was actually really, really, really discouraged with the way that hunt was going. And then all that happened. And then I shot my best bird with a bow. It's my third bird with a bow, first one with a Darton, and by far the best bird I have ever shot. And to top everything off, first public land turkey. Does it get any better than that? Like, all my 3 other birds that I have shot have all been on all been on private. This is the first public land bird. So, I was really, really, really happy. I had a hard time trying to calm myself down after that. I was just so pumped. My girlfriend's like, oh, you're just faking that. I'm like, no, I am not. I am not faking this. Like, I was literally shaking. I kind of turned around and did that number. You didn't really see it all that well, but I was literally like so pumped over it. It was ridiculous. I've never been that pumped on any of my other birds besides the first bird I had ever shot. And that was the only one I shot with a shotgun. That was the number 1 bird. This is like number 2 in terms of how the hunts went and how excited I was and, the trophy and how it lays out my memory. All that. So, I was just excited. I mean, shoot, I'm getting all excited right now just talking about this. Like, I'm still picturing that whole thing going on right now. When I had pulled the trigger on him, I don't even remember any of it. Like, when I drew, I was waiting the longest time for him to give me that shot, and when he finally gave me the opportunity to draw my bow, I thought I was going to get busted, but no, he stuck with that decoy. He was fixed on that decoy. Dave Smith decoys for the win. I'm going to put that in here, and I'm going to talk about this here in a little bit, too. He just stuck with that decoy, and he finally gave me that shot, and I literally don't remember. All I remember is waiting, 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 able to draw, and then I shot him. And when I was watching the footage, I'm like, holy smokes, my follow through was really good on that because, a lot of people when they shoot an animal, they drop the bow. They want to see where the arrow is, but, I just held it. I just held that bow right where it needed to be. Corona, sorry, just had to. And I was really impressed with that whole follow through, but, that was, a really nice bird. I still haven't even measured the beard on that bird, but we got maybe about 10 to maybe 15 pounds worth of breast meat off of him. We don't keep the legs. I usually give them to a buddy or whatever. But yeah, we usually just, like I said, just typically keep the breast meat. So after that, I called my dad, told my dad, and he was just slightly disappointed that I had gotten that bird, which is understandable. And then I kind of started feeling bad too because it's like, wow, my dad could have shot that bird, and here I am going out and shooting that bird. But it happens. It's the way it goes. I still slightly feel bad about it, but it is what it is at the end of the day, So the following Saturday, a buddy gets a hold of me and he's like, hey, he had never been turkey hunting. So I'm like, okay, well, we'll take you turkey hunting. So we went out to his property, walked around, we found some turkey tracks. This is like 9:30 at night when we're walking around his property, trying to prepare for Sunday because was hoping my dad was going to go, but he ended up not going. So I ended up taking my buddy out instead. And that was a really, really action-packed morning, besides the fact that we only seen the lone hen come across the field when she came off the roost. So when we had gotten there, it was right at daybreak, and we had birds, literally as soon as I parked the truck, we had birds sounding off in the distance on the other side of the road. So we set up on the corner that we had decided to that night, or the night prior. And we decided, okay, well, those birds are gobbling over there, so let's move back over here. So we sat up over here on top of this rock pile, and we just sat there probably for a good hour into daylight or so. And then we heard that hen come off the roost. We watched her walk across the field. And then, next thing you know, probably when she was about in the middle of the field, we had two toms or two jates, whatever, gobbling, kind of sounded like in this back corner of the field. So we're like, okay, well, we can make a game plan on this. So let's go over this way and set up over here. So we did, and they're still going off here and there, and then nothing. Everything got quiet. So we said, okay, well, let's walk through the swamp and let's go to this other field on the other side of the swamp. So we walked through, found a couple turkey feathers, set up over there, and we're just sitting. I'm like, it's a little bit later. It's about like 8:30 in the morning. I'm like, I'm not going to really call because they're really not that vocal right now. And that's, I called, finally decided to call, and we had a gobble like directly behind us. And kind of gradually worked closer, and it got within, if I'm to guess, about 50 yards, and then nothing. Absolutely nothing. We for sure thought that bird was going to come flying through that swamp and into that field, and it would have been a wham bam, thank you ma'am. He would have been tagged out right then and there. But no, that was not the case. And then we ended up packing it up at about 9:30ish, because just we weren't hearing anything, we weren't seeing any birds, so it's like, yeah, might as well just call it a morning. That afternoon we go back out, and my dad was able to go this time in the afternoon hunt, and we sit the same corner on the field that me and my buddy did that morning. And we're sitting there, nothing, not really calling. I don't really care to call too much in the afternoon, just because just really the birds aren't too vocal in the afternoon. So I usually just lay low, especially if I know, if it's in an area where they're consistently using, I'm just gonna lay low, keep quiet, and just wait for them to come through, because they're bound to come through at some point or another. So about 5 o'clock comes in, and we were all like, well, we can, go ahead. Kind of wanted to move. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just give it to 5:30 and we'll move. Well, next thing you know, here comes a hen walking across the field, like within 10 minutes of me saying we'll wait till 5:30 to move, because everybody, my buddy and my dad, wanted to move like right then and there. Like, let's move right now. And I'm like, no, let's just wait 5:30 and then we'll move. So I watched that hen disappear. We moved through the swamp to the other field, and sat there the rest of the night. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Got ate alive by mosquitoes. That was miserable. But no birds. Andrew had said he had seen, I think he said he'd seen a possum, a couple squirrels, and a coon, I think he said. So nothing. And then Sunday, I don't even remember what we did that Sunday. I think we went hunting. I don't think my dad went. I think it was just me and my buddy Andrew that went. And kind of like the same thing, nothing. I don't even think we went. I can't even remember that. But pretty sure we went, but we didn't see any birds, I don't think. We did. We went over to the primary. I didn't get any film of this. That's why I can't remember. So we went over the primary. We tried the primary. Nothing. And then we ended up driving to the spot where I shot my Jake. Nothing there. And then we went back to check Andrew's field, and nothing there. And then we're like, yeah, we're done. We called it a wraps right then and there, and went home. And then the whole next week, the plan was for my dad to be at my place at about 6:15, and then we would turn around and go out to the woods and do some afternoon hunts. Well, that didn't happen. He never even showed up. He had some things going on. He had IBS, so he really just didn't want to push his luck with that, and I've had that before, and that's not fun. Especially hunting, not fun. Nothing like getting in the tree stand, and within about 20 minutes of sitting down, you have to climb back down to take yeah, not fun. So I understand that. And then that was pretty much the end of turkey season. I don't even think we went out it would have been like the 30th and the 1st, because the season ended on the 1st, I believe, and then the 1st starts late season. So I don't even think we did. And then girlfriend is hunting the entire late season, so there's going to be another podcast episode of the whole month of May, which so far has been really action-packed, just with seeing birds. Like, we've had some pretty cool stuff happen so far in late season, and we're like, what, couple weeks left late season. We're going to go try tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to put the smackdown on one. She had an opportunity here on Saturday, but things happen. We'll talk about that at the end of the season. But yeah, that's it for how our spring turkey season went. I know Q and Dylan both went. Q said he had given up pretty early. I kind of wish he was here, but he's stuck working afternoons, and I really wanted to get this done so that way I can get the actual hunt footage posted. Dylan, I'm pretty sure he didn't get a bird. He pretty much hunted the whole week. He said he had a few encounters here and there with birds, but really just nothing able to pull the trigger on. So yeah, so that wraps up our 2 weeks of spring turkey season. It was fun. I kind of really wish I had been able to hunt with my dad a little bit more, and I really wish he was able to get a bird this year, but hey, maybe next year. There's always next year. Hopefully, fingers crossed, with this whole corona thing going on. Let me know how you guys are doing, how everybody's been doing amidst this whole corona thing. Been working, keeping busy, hunting, getting ready for deer season, new sight in the bow, orders arrowed, orders arrowed. Wow. Arrows ordered as of today, so I'm going to be building some arrows here, hopefully this weekend, and then turkey hunting the rest of this month. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing for a while, and then I got to get scouting for deer. I only got one spot set up right now, but yeah, that's where I'm at amongst all this. Gonna cut it here. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you all on the next one. Take care.